You are.
Have fun, take a deep breath.
Give him hell at the end. Good luck to you.
Fight like hell like we do every week. You are the best here.
Brett, be affirmative. You told me to get on. Info.
Ready. Ready. Go slow. Green, green, green.
Lock it down, lock it down.
I'm destroyed, and I just got drove through like 6 times on the 14th. What the f*** is he thinking? That is the stupidest thing I've seen in my career. Literally.
Everything you described is accurate. Haven't even finished the second stage yet. Half the field's wrecked.
Hell yeah!
11 got it. Proud of you there, Matt. Good job, pal. Thanks, man. Good job all day. Great work, my man. Great work.
Keep putting yourself in position, we'll win our share, right? We got one back today, brother. Good job.
10-4, great job, guys.
And welcome back to Racing in the Draft. My name is Mark. Thanks for joining in as we head to Bristol Motor Speedway for, hopefully, a night race tonight. They did move the start time, if you've not heard, to 6:30 instead of 7:30. So an hour earlier, so make sure you get those lineups set and done early. But before we head to Thunder Valley in the mountains of Tennessee, let's go back and look at last week's race from Kansas Speedway. Tyler Reddick holds off Denny Hamlin and Kyle Larson to get the win and get the automatic advance to the round of 12. So he joins Kyle Larson as locked in and ready to go. Let's take a look at some of the results and what was good and what was bad from last week. Kyle Larson did his Kyle Larson thing, leading 99 laps and getting 85 points. Denny Hamlin right there behind him with 63 laps led, but having 12 place differential gave him almost as many points as Kyle Larson. That's why place differential is such a big thing with Draftkings. Eric Jones being another place differential. Chase Elliott with a solid day, finishing in 6th. Ty Gibbs coming from 36th, and Justin Haley coming from 30th. Kyle Busch had the 3rd highest points, but because of pricing and everything else, he was not in the optimal lineup. But if you had probably substituted, even if you'd substituted him and Denny Hamlin, you probably still ended up with a fairly decent day. But our optimal lineup challenge after 28 races now, William Byron still at the top by 2 with 10. Martin Truex Jr., Chris Buescher, and Kyle Larson rounding out ties for 2nd. Ricky Stenhouse, Michael McDowell, Kyle Busch, and Justin Haley all right there with 7. So still up for grabs. Nobody is locked into the winner of this thing. Can Kyle Larson or maybe Martin Truex Jr. try to get up there and battle with William Byron? But as I stated earlier, let's head to the mountains of Tennessee for the Bass Pro Shops. We are crossing our fingers that we do not have any rain. Actually, let me check the latest radar and see if rain is going to be arriving earlier. I've seen some reports that it might get there a little bit earlier, but no, it's still down along the Tennessee-Georgia border. So we've got some time. It hasn't even made it to Knoxville yet. So cross our fingers that we can get this race in tonight and not Sunday, because Sunday it looks okay also, but not, it's got spotty showers, and spotty showers for a race are always kind of tough. But Bristol does dry fairly quick, being as steeply banked as it is. Speaking of steeply banked, there's that beautiful track, the last great Coliseum. This is a very steep, short track, concrete, 0.533 miles, 26 to 30 degrees bankings in the turns. Race length tonight is scheduled for 500 laps. Hopefully we get all 500 laps in. Dominator points are a premium tonight. 350 Dominator points up for grabs, coming from 125 of laps led and 225 of fast laps. The fast laps will be spread out a little bit more than the laps led. Typically that's the case. But Dominator points will actually be something we really need to keep an eye on and focus in. So it's mostly tonight we are going to be looking at Dominators, place differential, and value. Because, I mean, once again, all the top guys are expensive. Other tracks that we kind of compare to, Bristol is unique and it's kind of on its own. But other short tracks, Nashville Super Speedway is a concrete 1.25 mile track, so the concrete is the same. It does race a little bit like a short track, but nothing quite like Bristol. Dover's probably a little bit similar, but it's twice as big. Concrete track, 1 mile, high banks. Martinsville's as small, but not nowhere near the banking. And then you've got Darlington, which is 1.33 miles, but super high tire wear. So tire wear is not going to be as big of a deal at Bristol as some other tracks, but it is something that we will need to keep an eye on. They can probably run 80, 90 laps realistically. Anything short of that, they probably will not come in for tires. They'll just keep their track position because track position is a premium. They applied PJ1 or a sealant on the bottom of the racetrack to help with some extra traction at the bottom of Bristol earlier in the week. And with ARCA, Truex, and Xfinity running, they have opted to put more of that PJ1 down in the bottom groove to help with some traction. And the fast way kind of is around the top here now. So the cars are going to have a tendency to want to run on the higher side, but if they can get more traction out of the bottom groove and be fast, of course, that's the shorter way around. So definitely keep an eye out for that. They're really trying to make this a 2 to 3 groove racetrack. And, I mean, as far as the Trucks and Xfinity, was definitely that way. So we're in store for a doozy of a night tonight. But let's talk about what we came for, the drivers, their stats, their pricing, their qualifying, and all the good stuff that goes along with it. Kyle Larson is the most expensive driver this weekend at $11,500. So I'll break down this box like I do every week. Well, while I'm doing that, make sure you hit that like and subscribe button. I would really appreciate it. But Kyle Larson is the most expensive driver on DraftKings, $11,500, like I had stated a second ago. He is starting 36th, and he was. So this is his qualifying spot of 36th. The most expensive driver is starting shotgun on the field, and I had not watched practice and qualifying when I got a notification that he was starting 36. I was like, oh, that's weird. I guess maybe he wrecked his car in practice. Nope. Did he wreck his car in qualifying? Nope. He was just slow? Yep. So, yeah, Kyle Larson, I mean, it's what happens on a short track, and you miss judge turn 3 and turn 4 on your first lap out of 2. Number one, it messes up that lap, and then it messes up lap 2. So by messing up turn 3 and 4 of your first qualifying lap, kind of puts you out to lunch. And it really stinks for Kyle Larson because, as you see inside the parentheses here in the gray, is practice. Kyle Larson was first in practice. He was the fastest car on 1 lap speed. So this is a breakdown of all of practice. So single lap speed could be anything from, he did a total of 40 laps. So this could have been lap 1 or it could have been lap 40. It was one of his first laps when he went out that he did this. Most cars, that's what happens because you start to wear your tires and they're not quite as fast. So Kyle Larson was first fastest in single lap speed. He did 40 laps at practice, but was 9th on a 10 lap consecutive average. So then to be in this category, you need to run 10 consecutive laps at speed without coming to pit road. Most drivers did this. I think all but 3 at 10 lap consecutive average. So we've got a really large sample side. But Kyle Larson was 9th, and not bad. Not quite as good as first, but long run or moderately long run. It's really not a long run when you're talking about 70 to 80 laps is kind of what they're shooting for. And I mean, actually, they can do 100, 110 laps with fuel. and the tires will can and would hold up for that, but lap times do drop off pretty significantly after that. So this is a small sample of short run speed. They just, I mean, they don't have enough time to make many more runs than what they do with the 20 minutes of allotted practice time that they have. So and then the next row down here will break down the races highlighted up here. So it's the 5 races. So it's Bristol from last year, Bristol from 2021, because they raced dirt in the spring and concrete in the fall. So those are the 2 fall races at Bristol. And then the Bristol fall race from 2020. That's a misprint, sorry. So it's 2022, 2021, and the fall of 20. You have to kind of remember that our sample size for this next gen car really is only 1 race. No, 2 races, 2021 and 2022. The fall of 20 was the old generation car. So with that being said, I pulled in the Dover and Darlington race from this year. One high tire wear, the other one most similar track style. So it kind of gives a little bit better sample size on most recently what's happened, and having the next gen car involved. So those are reasons why I put these 5 races together for the comparisons for this 5 race stint. But Kyle Larson, in those 5 races, remember he missed the fall of 20 because of his suspension. He's got 2 wins, 3 top 5s, 3 top 10s, 3 top 20s, a 73.1 Draftkings average, and a 9.8 average finish. He finished 5th here at Bristol last year, so this yellow is last year's race, or the last race they were at, which happened to be last year. And at Bristol, his entire Cup history, he has 14 total starts at Bristol with 1 win, 4 top 5s, 9 top 10s, 11 top 20s, and a 7.2 average finish. So Kyle Larson is really, really solid here. He's a good driver. He's going to be, my guess is he's probably going to be 55 to 60% owned. It's almost hard not to take somebody who is, number 1, really good at Bristol, number 2, was fast in practice, and number 3, messed up their qualifying lap. It's not like he's got to go to a backup. It's not like they got to make repairs to the car, so we're questioning what that is. But being that heavily owned, I've got him. So over here to the far left is the number 1 here is the algorithmic formula that I have that ranks the drivers, and that's based on these last 5 races that I've put in, the last 10 races of this season that they've run, 10 races of similar style tracks, practice, qualifying, starting spots, place differential potential, Dominator potential. All of that kind of gets fed into what I come up with as, I guess in best terms, is a algorithmic data. And it comes up number 1. 40% to 45% is my ownership. I do a total of 40 different lineups, and this is the percentage that I'm running of Kyle Larson. I'm running 40 to 45%. I will not be surprised or shocked if Kyle Larson is close to 60% owned. I think this is a great opportunity to do 2 things. Number 1, you don't want to miss not having Kyle Larson in your lineup. If he does end up having a good day, there's no way you're going to beat the other 60% of people. If by chance Kyle Larson is caught up in something early, has a mechanical issue, any of those types of things that potentially can happen, and sometimes tends to happen with Kyle Larson. Out of all the chasers, it's either he's on fire or he's ice cold and not running well. So there is a little bit of a concern with Kyle Larson starting 36. It's almost a must-have, and it's an easy pick. But that also means a lot of people are going to be on him. So that's why I'm not running just full steam ahead with Kyle Larson starting back there. Just because I know that it's going to be a great opportunity to pivot away from him, be a little contrarian, and not run him. But I also still have him in about half my lineups. So he's still one of my highest owned drivers. But if I felt this was more of a sure thing, yeah, I'd have 60, 70% ownership in him. But it's the furthest thing from a sure thing. So that's kind of my breakdown for here. I draft Kyle Busch. Thanks, Fish. What's up, buddy? Thanks for joining in. Make sure you hit that like button for me. I appreciate it. Hope your Saturday's going well, and the weather up in Jersey is not too windy. Doesn't look like it's too bad, so appreciate you joining in. But yeah, I mean, Kyle Busch is not a bad pick. You're also a Kyle Busch fan, so you're kind of a homer. Just saying. Next in line here, Denny Hamlin, 11,200. Starting outside pole, second. He was 12th in practice and 7th in 10-lap consecutive average. Did 51 total laps at practice, so decent amount of laps in practice. But I mean, you got to think about it. It's only 10% of the actual race length. So yeah, it's a lot of laps here tonight. But I've got 35% ownership of a front row. Denny Hamlin is really, really solid at Bristol. Got a 14th place average finish over 32 total starts, 2 wins, 11 top 5s, 16 top 10s, 23 top 20s. He finished 9th in this race last year. I think he has a potential of being one of the targets for being a Dominator tonight. He is sharing the front row with Christopher Bell, and I don't mind Christopher Bell. And Christopher Bell actually runs almost as well as Denny does here, but I just have a feeling that Denny Hamlin is going to want to try to lock up the next round, and all he needs is 14 points in stage 1 and stage 2, and he is locked into the round of 12. So my guess is Denny's going to want to be up front. He's going to want to lead up front and lead a lot of laps. So I'm taking the Denny Hamlin call over the Christopher Bell play. That could backfire on me a little bit because I don't have much ownership in Christopher Bell at all. We'll get to him here in about 2 spots. But Denny Hamlin did come in second on my ranking system. Christopher Bell next in line. Pole sitter. 10,800, 5th in practice, 4th in 10-lap consecutive average, did 46 laps. So, I mean, all indicators are he was faster than Denny Hamlin. So maybe he does get out front and lead a bunch of laps. Christopher Bell is also in the chase and trying to lock himself into the next one. This is Christopher Bell's 3rd pole out of 3 races. So really good qualifying stints for Christopher Bell. But the last 2 races, when it comes to Draftkings, have not been good for Christopher Bell. Will 3rd time be the charm? I'm not betting on it. He's got an average finish of 18th here of the 5 races we're looking at. And he's got a 17.5 average finish, and he's only got 1 top 5 out of 4 starts here at Bristol on the concrete. So with all that being said, I faded off of Christopher Bell mostly because of his starting spot. Just no place differential upside, and either they screw something up in the pits, or he just has bad luck on the track. All those things going, I'm fading off of Christopher Bell. I kind of expect most people probably to. I think he's probably going to be 15 to 18% owned would be my guess. But next in line here, Kyle Busch, Mark Fish's call out for the race and the win. I mean, not a bad potential pick here. He's got 8 total wins here at Bristol. He is the king of Bristol. 8 wins out of 33 total starts, 14 top 5s, 19 top 10s. 24 out of 33 he's finished in the top 20. So most of the time he runs really, really well. A 12.2 average finish. Recently it's 17.8 average finish. Now that includes Dover and Darlington. So I know it's not a complete Bristol sample size, but I felt it more important to have the next gen car in than the spring of 2020 and the fall of 2019. But with that being said, Kyle Busch still fell third on my ranking system, and I've got him in 30 to 35% of my lineups. I think he's a good call. He's got some okay place differential, starting 15th, 17th in practice. So I mean, kind of just solid and right there. And Kyle Busch is really good about working on his car and getting the car to where he needs it to run well. So I think he's going to be smart. He's in the chase. He just needs a solid points day, and I think that's what Kyle Busch is probably going to get us. So I mean, Kyle Busch is easily potentially a win here, but I think a good solid top 5 is definitely in the forecast for Kyle Busch. So with that being said, that's a 10-spot place differential also. So I like Kyle Busch. He also could have some Dominator points as we get into this race. Next in line, William Byron, 10,200, starting third. Starting third, he was fast. On average, he was almost as fast as Christopher Bell, a little bit faster than Denny Hamlin. So the front row 3 guys are going to be very, very quick. 48 total laps at practice. He was third in 10-lap consecutive average. He's got a 10.4 average finish over the 5 races that are in this algorithm. He finished third in this race last year. He does not have a win, but he does have 2 top 5s and 3 top 10s, 5 top 20s out of 8 total starts with a 14th place average finish. I mean, pretty good and pretty consistent. And William Byron's having probably a 15, 20%, 25% better year than he's ever had anywhere else so far this year compared to previous years. I mean, William Byron easily could stay up there and compete with Denny Hamlin and Christopher Bell. Now, also remember, William Byron is also got one of the fastest pit crews. That is trended to help him out this year a lot. So I don't mind the William Byron play. I don't like it as much as the Denny Hamlin play. But I mean, when you get to this, you gotta pick your horse and you gotta ride it. So I'm picking Denny Hamlin for this one. I think William Byron could potentially have a decent day. So you can flip flop and swap out either one of those, or potentially run them both. But you're probably not gonna be able to fit Kyle Larson in that lineup. Also, I think it's you gotta take. If you take the Kyle Larson, you can only take probably one of these other guys in the 10,000 range, or you're just gonna run out of salary cap and end up just running BJ McLeod, which I don't advise, or JJ Yaley. There is somebody down there in the lower price range that I don't mind. Actually, there are a couple guys I don't mind taking. But before we get there, let's continue on down the path of the higher priced drivers and the potential dominators. Chase Elliott is just that type of driver. Starting 7th. He was 7th in single lap practice, 46 total laps of practice. He was 8th in the 10-lap consecutive average. So good on Chase Elliott. Nice and solid top 10 all the way around there. He's got an average finish of 10.6 over the 5 races that we're comparing to. 1 top 5, 3 top 10s, 4 top 20s. He finished 2nd in this race last year. Yeah, I mean, he doesn't have the win here that he was hoping for, but out of 12 total starts, 3 top 5s, 5 top 10s, 8 top 20s, a 9.1 average finish over 5. I'll take my shot with him starting 7th, and he has made... so I now do another chart. I'll share that real quick with you. So I actually go in and break down all the drivers. Now, I don't have the pricing on here, but if we look at Chase Elliott over the last 5 races, he's finished in the top 15 in Draftkings points. So 70.2, 43.5, 60.2, 43.55, 61. So he is the only driver that has started 5 races in the last 5 Bristol races and been in the optimal or the top 15 in points. Really not the optimal lineup, but it's top 15. So, I mean, really good. I mean, Brad Keselowski's right there behind him. Kyle Larson has 3 of 3, but he did miss 2 races in the last 5 because of the suspension. I mean, but next in line, I mean, Denny Hamlin 3 of 5, Kyle Busch 3 of 5. So, I mean, hands down, Chase Elliott, 5 of 5 in the top 15 in points. And it's not like he's got huge place differential days. It's 23 to second. Okay, that's a decent place differential day, but I mean, from 4th, he fell to 25th and still ended up in the top 15, which means he led a bunch of laps. Chase Elliott, 6th to 7th, 6th to 22nd, meant he led a bunch of laps, 6th to 5th. So, I mean, he's pretty consistently staying up front, or at least leads some laps before he fades a little bit late in the run. So, that's kind of one of the tools that I look at when I'm building my lineups, is what happens here. Another thing before I pull that away too far, this is also the starting spots. So when I start to look at some of this, I look at how many people started in the top 5, top 6 through 10, 11 through 20, 21 through 30, because it kind of gives me an indication of kind of what the flow is. And really kind of the sweet spot when building these lineups is 4.8 is the average out of 15. So almost a third of the field, top 15 in Draftkings points, are coming from 11 through 20th. And the next biggest sample size is 21 through 30. So place differential plays into some of that. And getting up front and potentially being a dominator, like, a Chris Buescher from 20th to 1st. Chase Elliott from 23rd to 2nd. So that kind of gives you a little bit of an insight on what to kind of expect, and how many times does somebody in the front row make the top 15 in points? Well, there's nobody last year, 2 in 2021, none in the fall of 2020, 1 in the spring of 2020, and 1 in the fall of 2019. So the front row is not completely out of play, but as you can kind of see, I mean, Brad K started first and finished first and had 88.15, but Kyle Busch from 7th to 4th, only 4 points better and finished 3 spots worse. So without going and looking, I could tell you that that was more Dominator points for Kyle Busch. That's why Dominator points do become a much bigger factor this weekend than some other races that are shorter on laps and don't have as big of Dominator points. So Dominator points are going to be a big deal this weekend. Keep that in mind. So I do like Chase Elliott. I've got him 40 to 45%. I mean, it's good till it's not. So I'm just going to keep riding that horse. Brad K, next in line here, $9,800. In the last 5 races that we're comparing to, he doesn't have a top 5, but 3 top 10s, 4 top 20s, a 13.4 average finish over those 5 races. Now remember, it's just 3 Bristols, 1 Dover, and 1 Darlington that I'm putting into that sample size. But if we look at his total track history, he's got 24 total starts with 3 wins, 6 top 5s, 8 top 10s, 15 top 20s, and a 15.5 average finish. Not too bad. He's starting 6th. He was 28th in single lap. Now, Brad did not do a 10-lap consecutive average run. I'm not sure if they just kind of felt something maybe in the first run that they've either felt comfortable with, or they needed to do a little bit of work on, then went back out, because he came out and qualified 6th. So pretty good starting spot for Brad K. I think he's potentially got maybe enough. He's been he's running really well so far in the championship, and probably the 5 races leading up to the end of the regular season. So, Brad K's feeling good about his team. He's feeling good about this next gen car. Things are headed in the right direction for him. I'm going to let that momentum continue to carry Brad, and I think he potentially could vie for a win. That's not out of the question, but I think Brad K is kind of setting himself up for just a nice solid, top 10, top 5 type of day. Maybe lead some laps, stay up there front, keep your nose clean, and make it onto the round of 12. So, Brad K is somebody that I do like a decent amount of. Paul, buddy, welcome. I had the 45 last week, so eating steak this week. Thanks for your great content. You're more than welcome, Paul. Congratulations on picking the winner from last week. I didn't have a whole lot of Tyler Reddick last week. I had a fair amount, but I did end up having a good week. It was a little bit more than break even. So anytime it's break even or better, it's a win in my book. It carries me through to the next week and lets me play again. So, yeah, pretty happy with last week's results. Wish I'd picked that Justin Haley play though. Just didn't see that one coming through, but it did. That's okay. I had a little bit of ownership of him, but not what I needed. That was kind of my big surprise from last week. But I mean, everybody was targeting the two guys that were starting from the back, Kyle Busch and Ty Gibbs, and both of them did really well. The problem is you kind of overlooked some of the other potential place differentials and value. Kevin Harvick, his last run at Bristol. He's got 4 total wins to his career. He's got 14 top 5s, 22 top 10s, 31 top 20s with a 13.5 average for his career in the Cup Series at Bristol. So good luck to Kevin in his final start. He will be starting middle towards the rear of the pack in 21st, though. 19th in single lap, 27th in 10 lap consecutive average. So not great practice speed, but Kevin hasn't shown great practice speed pretty much all year. He's had a couple of tracks that he's done shown a little bit better, but not great. 9,500. I'm taking a shot on Kevin. He really, really likes to run Bristol. And it's also a track that you can move people out of the way and not wreck them completely. You can get them to, if they're running that bottom, you can slide them up to the next groove and just go on by. And doesn't really affect their day other than that one spot. So Kevin's kind of one of those. He's hungry. He wants to get that win before his career finally ends up finishing, and would also help him out in getting locked into the next round. So Kevin doesn't need a little bit of help getting to the next round. He needs to make sure he has a mistake-free race. And he's got a decent amount of place differential. So I'm 35 to 40% ownership. He's number 4 on my ranking systems, right there close to Chase Elliott and the rest of them. Once again, though, it's 9,500. You can't run the top 5 that I've got in my algorithm. There's no way possible. It's too much money. Even if you run BJ McLeod twice, it still wouldn't matter on pricing. But that's why I run more than one lineup, because I like to run different combinations of these guys up front, along with some combinations of guys in the rear. I do run some single lineups for some tournaments that are single entry, but for the most part, 35 to 40% ownership in Kevin Harvick. I like him. I think he potentially has a great day today and has some decent place differential. Next up in line here, our winner from last year, Chris Buescher, 9,300, and 3-time winner this year. So with that being said, 9,300, starting 20th, right there next to Kevin Harvick, but he was second in practice and second in 10 lap consecutive average, so he definitely has a lot of speed. Starting 20th, a decent amount of place differential here for Chris Buescher. He does have the win from last year out of the 5 races that we were comparing to. 8.8 average finish, one of the best on the board. 58.0 Draftkings average. Won this race last year. Should have a pretty good race. He's in the chase. He's trying to make sure that he locks himself into the next round. Kind of like Kevin. If he just kind of bides his time, doesn't get involved in anything big, Chris Buescher could easily be somebody that could get a top 10, top 5, or potentially even get that 4th win and move on to the next round. It's going to be tough. There's some really tough competition up there, but he did it last year. Joey Logano, $9,000. One of the first drivers that I'm actually concerned our past champion, along with our regular season champion, may struggle this weekend and may get eliminated before we even get to the round of 12. Wow. If that happens, that means Bubba Wallace is in, more than likely, or somebody like a Michael McDowell or Ricky Stenhouse Jr. have a phenomenal day, because they will need phenomenal days to make up the points difference that they've got. But Joey Logano's right there on the bubble, and it's going to be tight. It's going to be close. Joey's pretty good here, but not recently. Out of the last 5 races that we're comparing to, he's only got 3 top 20s and no top 10s. 18.4 average finish. He finished 27th in this race last year. Now, Joey's won here before. Joey has had stints where he has done very well at Bristol. His practice speeds were better than his qualifying speeds, so there's some place differential here, but they also have been tending to still make mistakes on pit road. Joey's making a few minor mistakes on the track, which is costing him now. They had a pretty good turnaround last week towards the end with a good 2 tire pit strategy, and got them, I think, a top 5. But before that, they were really struggling all day, and have struggled all so far this entire chase season. They struggled towards the end of the season and over the summer months this year also. So don't have a ton of Joey Logano. I mean, he's going to probably be pretty heavily owned because he is starting 28th. So there is a window here of opportunity to be a little contrarian and not play him, because I think he probably will end up being 25 to 30% owned is my guess. I mean, it's kind of hard not to take last year's champion starting 28th at a track that he's got some wins at. But I don't love the play today. I think he ends up with a top 20, but I mean, I think we really potentially could see a Martin Truex Jr. and Joey Logano not advance to the next round. Ugh, that's crazy. Ryan Blaney next in line here, teammates to Joey Logano, $8,800, starting 11th. 20th in single lap speed, 21st in 10 lap consecutive average. Not great. Qualified a little bit better than that. He's got an 11.8 average finish. 2 top 5s, 3 top 10s, 4 top 20s. I mean, those are pretty decent. Average finish is okay, but starting 11th and finishing 30th in this race last year. 14.4 average finish. I think we kind of might potentially get what we got out of Ryan. He might sniff a top 10, but he's also had troubles finishing out races here. Either mechanically wise, being involved in other people's wrecks, or just him making a mistake. So I don't have a whole lot of ownership with Ryan Blaney today. I just don't have a great feeling about that. So that one could bite me, but I'm going with the odds here. Martin Truex Jr., regular season points champ, is on the ropes. He's -7 in the current chase format, 7 points outside looking in, chasing Bubba Wallace. $8,700. He's going to start up front, or close to it, starting 5th. But practice speeds were not there. It was 24th in single lap, 18th in 10 lap consecutive average, 42 laps of total practice. Finished 36th in this race last year. He's got a 19.8 average finish for his 32 total races here. That's not good. And he's only got 2 top 5s out of 32 races. I don't have much ownership in Martin Truex Jr. I think they may crack under pressure. Now, if we can change our lineups and this thing gets rained out to all the way to Monday, and we're able to change our lineups, I'll put Martin Truex Jr. back in, but I don't foresee that happening. What's up, man? Let's go back to tonight. Yes, let's win some money tonight. I feel good about tonight. I feel good about my lineups. I feel good about the strategies. Some weeks I'm kind of like, I just don't know what to do. Like, I mean, last week wasn't real sure. It ended up being okay. Like I said, earlier in the video, I broke even and made a little bit. So anytime I can pull that off, it's always a win in my book. It gets you to the next week where you can bag the big one. Next in line here, Ross Chastain, $8,500, starting 23rd. Okay, we got some place differential potential here with Ross Chastain, but he's been a little bit of hit or miss. He's been much more hit the first 2 rounds of the playoffs than he had been pretty much all summer, other than at Nashville. Now, the interesting thing is that I forgot to mention earlier, this car setup, tire combination, all those things are the same tire combination and setup that we had at Dover and at Darlington. That's the other reason why those 2 races are inside of my comparisons. With that being said, Ross Chastain has a 6.8 average finish. That's, I think, might be the best average finish. Now, he's missing the fall of 2000 race. He was not in that race, but other than that, he's got a 6.8 average finish, 60.9 Draftkings average, 4 top 20s, 3 top 10s. I mean, every race out of the 4 races that he raced in, he's finished 20th or better. I mean, even at Bristol, even he's got 6 total starts. He's got a 16.8 average finish for those 6 total starts. Twice has only been in the top 20, so this is not one of his best tracks, but he finished 6th here last year. I've got 10 to 15% ownership. I probably should have more, but it gets real sticky in here with this price range because more than likely, a lot of the field is going to be taking Kyle Larson. A lot of the rest of the field is going to be taking somebody along with Kyle Larson that's high priced. So it gets real sticky in this between $7,000 and $9,000 range, in my opinion, because it's pretty easy to go and target, a Harrison Burton or a Todd Gillen that are starting 30th or 32nd, or even a Ty Dillon at $4,900 starting 33rd. And then you can fit in some of these higher price guys, but it's pretty risky taking some of those guys in the back or the cheaper guys. So tough call. I mean, same thing here with Tyler Reddick, 8,300. He was 10th in both single lap and 10 lap consecutive average. He is starting 12th. He's got a 10th place average finish. For his total record here at Bristol, he's got 1 top 5, 1 top 10, 2 top 20s, a 19.3 average finish. So his finishes at Dover and Darlington are a little bit better, that are help pulling up his average a little bit. And starting 12th, and he's locked in. So he's locked into the next round. He doesn't have to go out and do anything crazy. I mean, if he can get another win, it's more bonus points for him going into the next round. But how much is Tyler? I mean, he can risk it all. He could wreck his car. He's on to the next round. I may try some different strategies, which could backfire. I just don't have a whole lot of ownership in Tyler Reddick. If Tyler Reddick were starting 30th, I would probably have a lot more. But starting 12th, I think that's kind of what we get from Tyler today. I think it's either that or worse, or he's going to finish 1st or 2nd. So I think the odds are better that he finishes further back than he finishes 1st or 2nd. All right, Bubba Wallace on the bubble. Needs to have a really, really good race today to secure his dreams of continuing on to the round of 12. This is just not a great track for Bubba, though. He does fairly well at these shorter tracks. It seems to be under a mile and over 2.5 miles. Bubba Wallace does pretty well at. So super speedways or short tracks. Well, he's got an 18.6 average finish. He's only finished in the top 10 once out of 8 total races. Even if we bring in Dover and Darlington, those aren't great either. He's got a 17.2 average finish. Finished 29th in this race last year. Starting 9th, but his practice speeds were really good. The problem is, can he hold on to that speed for 500 laps? 500 laps in this fishbowl is almost nauseating. I do iRacing, and we raced here in the 87 cars. So the model 1987 cars, if you haven't paid attention to iRacing, it's modeled after the cars back in 1987. So big old box full of horsepower. We did 175 laps. At 175 laps, I was at some points almost getting a little bit dizzy. I'm like, what turn, what corner am I in? So it takes a lot of focus and a lot of concentration to get around 500 laps around this place. Bubba Wallace makes me nervous a little bit. I mean, I've got 10 to 15% ownership in Bubba. Not a complete out fade, but also not a whole lot of ownership here. I mean, it's really tough to. It's really, I don't really even know who to predict that's going to make it or not. I think Martin Truex Jr. ends up having a better day than Bubba Wallace. So I think Martin Truex Jr. potentially leapfrogs over Bubba to end up getting into the round of 12. But I'm telling you, from 8th to 14th, it is just a hornet's nest of potentials. Paul Harvick has his car set up for night race. the earlier stat may hurt him a bit. The track will change after dark for sure. Oh, absolutely. The track is going to be yes and no. Bristol does change, but it does not change to the extent that a Charlotte does from day to night. We're also going to probably start this race in probably pretty decently cool weather and probably fairly heavy overcast. I'm looking at the radar now. Let me refresh it and kind of see. I mean, we're going to be right on the edge of this thing getting in. That is the other thing that potentially could play spoilers. This thing gets to 300 and it rains and it pours. They're just going to call it, even though they want to get this whole thing in. And they will try up until 1:30 in the morning. I've seen them push this Bristol race to very, very late at night. I mean, I'm looking at the radar now, and there are scattered showers, little pop-ups. I mean, all it takes is one small pop-up to hit the racetrack, and it's out for 2 to 3 hours. Yeah, I mean, so the cloud cover's already started. So, in my opinion, the track's not going to change a lot, and it doesn't have a whole lot of sun baking down on it before the start. So, I think what you're saying is there will be some change, but I don't think it's going to be as dramatic as we see at Darlington and we see at Charlotte. With that black asphalt, when the sun goes down, the track temperature really drops down pretty quick. Or we don't necessarily see that on the other concrete tracks. We didn't really see a huge difference at Nashville because that was from day to night. It changed a little bit, don't get me wrong, but I don't think it's going to be as big of a difference as we think it's going to be, Paul. Just taking that into account. 30% chance of rain after 4, increasing to 80% by midnight. We may get a short race. Yeah, there is a very good potential we get a shortened race. The issue and problem is Sunday doesn't look great either. That's why I kind of said earlier I put an asterisk next to Martin Truex Jr. If this thing happens to not get started tonight, we're able to make changes to our rosters. A day late race because of rain really seems to play into Martin Truex Jr.'s books. So take that into consideration if this thing happens to get rain delayed and we're still able to make changes till tomorrow. Next in line here, Ty Gibbs, 7,900. I know, I say it every week. I still think Ty Gibbs gets a win this year. He won an Xfinity in this race last year. Now, completely different cars. I get it. I understand. But he knows how to get around here. And that's 2/3 of the battle. Is just knowing how to get around Bristol. I mean, look at Dale Earnhardt Jr. last night. The guy hadn't raced in 6 years at this track. Comes out here, leads, I don't know, what, 60, 70 laps before his car catches fire? I mean, when you know how to race this track, you know how to race this track, I guess. Ty Gibbs knows how to race this track. I mean, he's 4th in single lap practice, 1st in 10 lap consecutive average. I mean, I pretty much all the other previous stats for Ty Gibbs can kind of almost be thrown out the window because this guy's progression on learning this car and learning how to race at this level has been extremely quick. If he can just finish out these races and not do rookie mistakes, that's the problem, is he's still a rookie. I've got a little bit of ownership. I don't have a whole lot of trust in Ty Gibbs right now. If he ends up making it to the end, he's going to be probably top 5. Just because that's the type of driver he is. The problem is, I'm not sure I trust him to make it to the end. I mean, he finished 35th in the race last year. If we look at the other tracks, which would be Dover and Darlington, he's got a 23rd place average finish. I get it. And he's going to be probably pretty low owned. So if you're looking to be a little different, have something different in your lineup that has potentially somebody was pretty quick in practice, Ty Gibbs might be a decent play. I just don't trust it. I mean, I do have ownership in him, so don't get me wrong. I mean, I have as much ownership in Ty Gibbs as I probably do Alex Bowman within a lineup or two. And Alex Bowman wasn't quite as fast in practice, but he's got a slightly better average finish. Not much though. Finished 32nd in this race last year, starting 13th. And Alex has been just as bad as Ty Gibbs with being consistent this year. So, even taking out the races that Alex Bowman missed, it's just is inconsistent with his finishes. Just he can get up front, and then all of a sudden he'll have a bad pit stop, or he'll decide he's gonna play bumper car with Daniel Suarez. So I've got 10 to 15% ownership. I don't hate and I don't love the Alex Bowman play. I like it a little better than probably the Ty Gibbs play. But if I'm putting a lineup together and I've got these three choices, I'm taking Eric Jones. $7,400. He wasn't as fast in practice, but only did 28 laps. Starting 31st. He's got an average finish of 11.6. Now, this includes Darlington, which is his favorite track. But he's pretty good here. 10 total starts. He's got a 10.7 average finish. 4 top 5s, 5 top 10s. Half the time he's finishing in the top 10. 6 top 20s. Starting 31st, I'll take a shot on that all day long. He just missed his qualifying lap. Okay. So you and Kyle Larson could team up with each other and come through the field. Just don't wreck each other. That would really suck. Daniel Suarez. I mean, kind of the same thing. $7,200. Daniel was really slow in practice. They either fixed something or they band-aided it enough for him to have a okay qualifying. Qualified in 24th. I mean, over the last 5 races, it doesn't look good. 27.2 average finish, but Trackhouse hasn't looked good over these 5 races. He had a 19th place finish in this race last year. Total stats here, he doesn't have a top 5. He's got 2 top 10s and 8 top 20s out of 10 total starts at 15.2. I think there's some place differential here. I don't love it as much as I love the Eric Jones play. I mean, there's also 7 place differential points. But I think Eric Jones actually, just if we were just to look at it straight up, who do I think is going to be in a better finishing spot? I think Eric Jones finishes better than Daniel Suarez. So I like the Eric Jones play better than I like the Daniel Suarez play. Ricky Stenhouse Jr. Ricky's having a much better year than he has had any other time in his Cup career. And that's saying a lot, because if we look at his total stats at Bristol, he's pretty good here. 18th place average finish, 10 top 20s, 5 top 10s, and 3 top 5s. Now, he finished 33rd in this race last year. Okay, a little bit tough, but that can happen. Starting 25th, practice 25th, 10 laps, he was 15th. I mean, I think there's a decent amount of place differential here, and we're starting to get into some value area here with Ricky Stenhouse. And any of these guys, anybody under 7,500, I consider to be kind of the value. It's not deep value, but there's value. And I mean, you could literally flip a coin and put any 3 of these guys in, starting 31st, starting 24th, and starting 25th. Yeah, they all play, and they all play pretty well. Including Eric Almirola. I don't know why I've got Ricky's card with Eric. Oh well, I messed that up. Eric Almirola car, I don't even know what he's driving. He's driving something different this weekend, if I remember correct. But 6,900, sorry for the whoops on the paint scheme. 6,900. There's always one. Did I mess this one up too? No, I got that one right. Eric Almirola, 6,900. Squirrel. Starting 26th, 21st in single lap, 23rd in 10 lap consecutive average. So practiced about where he qualified. 17.8 average finish though. That's pretty good. 23.6 though for his whole body of work here. It only has 1 top 5, 3 top 10s. Finished this race 28th last year. Now Eric is really good at a little bit flatter short track. The Martinsville, the Richmond, the Phoenix. Some reason I'll suddenly throw a little bit more banking in, and it doesn't normally go as well as Eric would like. He's not a bad play starting 26. I mean, you're only going to lose 10 spots if you finish dead last. And I don't think that happens. I mean, it's potential. Anything's possible. But, yeah, I mean, look at last week. Martin Truex Jr. goes out and runs 3 laps, and he's done for the day. So anything's possible. Eric Almirola, 26, though. I think I like the plays above him better a little bit, but it's not an awful play. You do have place differential. Compared to Chase Briscoe starting 14th, I don't know if Chase Briscoe finishes much better than this. He could potentially sneak in a top 10, but we'd have to have some attrition. 26th in single lap speed, 30th in 10 lap consecutive average. He finished 14th in this race last year. He's got a 13.5 average finish, which means he finished 12th. No, finished 13th in 2021. Even if we bring in Dover and Darlington, we're at 18th. I just don't know. I don't see any major upside for running Chase Briscoe today. I think that's as best as he gets. Without some real major attrition happening. And as much as I would like Michael McDowell to end up having a really good day today and make it to the next round, I just don't know if I see that happening. My phone's ringing. I bet you if anything, it's probably scam likely. Yep, scam likely. Called that one. They always call. Michael McDowell starting 4th. He was 30th in single lap and 20th in 10 lap consecutive average. I think close qualifies 4th. I mean, good on him for getting a good qualifying spot. Bad on us because there's no way I'm touching that in Draftkings. Yeah, 19.8 average finish. Finished 11th in this race last year. Okay, but 23.8 average finish over 22 total starts. Never finished in the top 5. Just no interest here at all. Something weird would really have to happen for Michael McDowell to have a good points day today. Now, if he goes out and just finishes 10th, that's not going to be good enough for us unless he leads a bunch of laps. And I'm not sure that happens. I don't see a play to where Michael McDowell ends up being a decent DraftKings play. He could run well enough, get enough stage points to make it. No, he's 40 points behind. He'd have to have some. He has to go out and win. That's going to be his only hope. Next in line here, though, AJ Allmendinger, 6,400, starting 22nd. 14th in single lap speed, 6th and 10 lap consecutive average. He finished 7th in this race, the Cup race last year. He also won a Xfinity race here. So AJ knows how to get around here. For being a road course guy, this is one of his better tracks. 12.7 average finish over Darlington, Dover in the last 3 Bristol races. Now, his total body of work here is not good. You also have to remember this is 22 total starts, and a lot of that was when I don't even remember who he was with, but I think it was Penske maybe. But yeah, I mean, I think he could definitely improve his spots. Now, is AJ going to end up finishing top 10? I mean, potentially he did last year. But I think he's going to need to have a decent amount of help here. I don't mind the play. I think he probably has a top 15 and might get lucky to get a top 10. It's not an awesome play, but once again, we're starting to get to a point where we got to save some money, and Michael McDowell does not play. Chase Briscoe just does not play. Eric Almirola kind of does, but I mean, we're talking about $500 difference. I mean, $500 is a decent chunk of change, especially when you're trying to figure out how do I fit a Denny Hamlin or a Chase Elliott or Kyle Larson into your lineup. $500 makes that difference. Save another $100 and go with Ryan Preece starting 17th. He didn't race this race last year, but out of his total 5 Cup starts, he's got a 16.2 average finish. I mean, that's second best on the board, at least on this page. 1 top 10, 4 top 20s, starting 17th. Now, I mean, I don't think he improves much more than where he finishes. I think it's kind of like A Chase, maybe like a Chase Briscoe. Yeah, I mean, he and Chase Briscoe have very similar stats, but we have 3 place differential points. I know 3 doesn't sound like a lot, but I mean, 3 points, $400. I have more ownership in Ryan Preece than I do Chase Briscoe. I mean, they're racing for the same team, pretty much the same car, probably going to be very similar setups. 17.8 average finish over the same races where Chase Briscoe's got an 18th place average finish. I don't know. It's coin flip. I mean, if you need to save $400, save $400 and you get 3 extra spots. That's the difference. I guess it's a pretty big difference in my world. 30 to 35% to 0 to 5%. So I told you where I'm leading. I'm leading on the Ryan Preece bandwagon. Austin Dillon here, next in line at $6,100. Ooh, he was slow in practice. 32nd in single lap, 24th in 10 lap consecutive average. What have you done for me lately? Out of 16 total starts here, Bristol, he's got 1 top 5, 3 top 10s, 11 top 20s, 14.6 average finish. Okay, compared to where you're starting, but not compared to where you practiced or where you finished last year, or your average finish over the 5 races we're comparing to. Honestly, this plays kind of like the last 2 we just talked about. I mean, I don't know if Austin Dillon has much more to get into a top 10 situation. I would kind of need for that. Don't love, don't hate. This is a coin flip between playing an Austin Dillon, a Ryan Preece, or a Chase Briscoe. All 3 of them end up playing very similar, have average finish similar, practices were similar. I mean, all indications, it really is a coin flip between all 3. I mean, Austin Dillon's got a little bit more experience here than the other 2, but, I mean, yeah. I don't know. You can mix and match any of those 3 guys. I don't know what to do with Carson Hocevar. Oh my goodness, the kid is making a statement. He's finished top 20 every time he's gotten into this 42 car, and Noah Gragson, who honestly thought probably was a better race car driver than Carson Hocevar, but I guess I'm thinking that might be wrong. I mean, supposedly Carson's going to be in a Cup car next year. Unsure which one, because the 31 just got filled with Zane Smith. And this one's going to John Hunter Nemechek. Now, supposedly there's some rumors that the 78 may sell its charter to the 77 and 7 Spire Group. And that potentially Carson goes and races over there. Don't know. Supposedly he's going to have a full-time Cup ride next year. Hasn't been announced yet, so maybe it gets announced today. But I mean, we're starting to wrap up the season. We got to hurry up. But Carson Hocevar has been quite impressive so far. I mean, out of all the tracks that I would have thought he would have had a tough time at would have been Darlington. And he was a rock star. Ran lead lap all day long, kept his car clean, kept his nose clean, and had a good, solid finish last week. I mean, great job, Carson Hocevar. In fact, I think he was top 15 in points last week. Hate scrolling on the same, but we're going to scroll real quick. We're going to go back up here. I think he was top 15. No, he wasn't. Okay. I thought he may have been top 15 in points. All right, let's get back down to him. Where did he? How many points did he have last week? Let me go look real quick as I get back to here. But either way, up. One second. I have been really impressed with how well Carson Hocevar has run so far this year. Carson Hocevar finished the day with 24.45 points, or 19th out of the points getters. So, but I mean, still, I mean, pretty impressive for a guy that most people expected to, in this 42 guard, to finish probably. I would have not been surprised if he finished 31st, 32nd, 33rd at all of his starts. And he was running really well at Gateway when the brakes went out on the car. So on the 7 car, it's gonna be fun to watch Carson Hocevar progress. I wouldn't be shocked if he finishes in the top 20 tonight. That's just my guess. So I don't have a whole lot of ownership in Carson Hocevar, but it has been quite fun and interesting to watch how well he has done and how clean he's actually been racing with these guys. For being 20 years old, it's quite impressive. So next in line here, Justin Haley, $5,900. 13th in single lap practice, 31st in 10 lap consecutive average. The 10 lap consecutive average has me a little bit concerned. Qualified 19th. We're now under $6,000. We're now in true volume base here. Finished 12th in this race last year. I don't know. I don't love that he's starting top 20. I don't like the Justin Haley play. I've got him in 1 or 2 lineups because it just happened to fit, but I don't love the play. I would much rather take an Austin Cindric. I think Austin Cindric's better at Bristol, at least compared to their Xfinity averages. But Austin Cindric, 5,700. He was 16th in single lap, 25th in 10 lap consecutive average. Finished 20th in this race last year. Starting 29. I mean, we've got a pretty good PD upside play with Austin Cindric, even if he just gets to his finishing spot last year of 20th. It's not quite optimal lineup, but it's probably enough to get a cash tournament play or actually have an okay finish. So, yeah, I'm willing to take a little bit of shot on Austin Cindric. In fact, as you can see, 25 to 30%. I mean, at 5,700, do I take an Austin Cindric or do I take Carson Hocevar, Justin Haley, or Harrison Burton? I'll take the Austin Cindric for 5,700. Now Harrison Burton, I mean, it's only 3 spots. That's the other thing. I mean, he's starting pretty far back. Now, I don't think Austin Cindric goes out and lights the world on fire today, but I don't need him to. I need him to finish 19th. I need 10 spots. Go finish 19th at 5,700. Be the value guy that I need for that. I mean, same thing with Harrison Burton. Austin Cindric and Harrison Burton just follow each other and finish 19th and 20th together. And that's going to be a great day for, at least for me. But Harrison Burton, 5,600. He was 33rd in single lap, 29th and 10 lap consecutive average. Starting 32nd, he finished 16th in this race last year. 27.5 average finish over 3 of the races we're looking at, which would be Darlington, Dover, and Bristol of 22. Not great, but I mean, there's not far to fall. There's a lot more to gain. The bottom's not that far away. So, whereas Corey LaJoie, oh buddy, he was fast. That's all I can say. He was fast. He was fast in practice. 6th in single lap, 13th in 10 lap consecutive average, starting 10th. If this were a year from now, I'd say, okay, Corey LaJoie, I'm interested in playing. But this is not next year, and you don't have the funding that I think is in place starting next year with Cambridge. He's got an average of 22nd, finished 15th in this race. Corey LaJoie is just starting too far up. I don't have any interest. I do have interest in Todd Gillen, though, starting 30th. I mean, if he just gets the same finish he got last year, and 18th, that's a win. That's 12 points plus the finishing spot. I don't even need him to lead laps or do anything else. At 5,300, that takes care of itself. So I'll take some Todd Gillen at 5,300 for the savings and the value. There is no Cole Custer for this race. There is a Ryan Newman, but DraftKings never put Ryan Newman into the mix. So this line is null and void. The 51 is off the board. Let me see if that's still the actual case. It was 3 hours ago. Draftkings has this funny way of adding people in at the last minute. So let's make sure that we still have a Cole Custer out, and we do not have a Ryan Newman on the board. So Ryan Newman is not in play. Cole Custer is not racing, so he is out of play. So we'll just skip on to the next one. But they did have the last starting spot. JJ Yaley, $5,000, starting 35th. It's JJ Yaley. He finished 23rd in this race. I mean, if he goes and finishes 23rd at $5,000, that's a pretty good play. But I don't think he does that this year. 27.6 average finish, not going to be good enough for what we need. And 28.2 out of 16 total starts at Bristol, just not enough. Do have some interest in Ty Dillon at 4,900. As we saw earlier, Ty Dillon has made the optimal lineup, I think, 3 or 4 times now. Maybe even more than that. I mean, he's been running really, really well. Where's my let's see. Where was that? Sorry, I should have had this pulled up already. Optimal lineup challenge contest sheet. Hi, Dylan has had. He's only had one optimal lineup. But he's as of I don't know. I'm playing 10 to 15% of Ty Dillon. $4,900. It opens the door to being able to play 3 of the top highest people. And if he goes out and finishes, I mean, if he gets his average finish, which is 19th here at Bristol, that's really good. That's 14 points plus the 19th place finish. I'll take that for $4,900. I mean, that's the biggest selling point is Ty Dillon's $4,900. Starting 33rd. I mean, it's only 3 spots worse, and one of them can't play. So I've got some Ty Dillon at 10 to 15%, starting 33rd. I don't love to play, but you got to have a room, and you can't. I don't want to play a BJ McLeod. His average finish is 30.6, and he's starting 34th. Yeah, I'm skipping on BJ McLeod. No interest there. All right, for Dominators, and Tal Larson's not a Dominator, but so it really should say potential highest point getters. These are the guys that I would target. Kyle Larson and Denny Hamlin for Dominator. Kyle Busch for some place differential and having a top 3 finish probably. Kevin Harvick, also same reason as Kyle Busch. We got some place differential, and I think Kevin can finish top 5. Other guys to kind of look at, Chris Buescher starting 20th. He was one of the faster guys in practice. He won last year. He's having a phenomenal year. Needs to get locked into the next round. Chase Elliott has never finished outside of the top 15 in points in the last 5 races at Bristol. Christopher Bell is fast. He's pretty consistently good, but one small slip and he becomes very costly by starting from the pole. Martin Truex Jr., I don't know if I like that play. I don't like the Ryan Blaney play. William Byron, maybe. I don't like any of these guys to really finish well, except for maybe Chase Elliott. One more of these guys is going to end up having a decent day. You just got to figure out which one it is. I think, honestly, probably one of the more safer plays is probably Brad Keselowski. He does really well here at Bristol. For value plays, I mean, I think Harrison Burton's kind of one of the safer bets because he's got the most place differential potential. And maybe Daniel Suarez behind him starting in 24th, but he gets a little tricky in this value area. I mean, we're really looking for value. An Eric Almirola or Eric Jones at under 7,500. Down here, yeah, do not like Corey LaJoie. Austin Cindric and Todd Gillen are potentially in play, and so is Ty Dillon. We know Cole Custer's out. BJ McLeod out. JJ Elliott, nope. Justin Haley starting too far up. So our optimal lineups, let's look at those from the previous few races at Bristol. So last year's race, we saw Chris Buescher lead 169 of 500 laps, and Christopher Bell leading 143. Now, Christopher Bell did not sit on the pole. He started in 8th. But you can see what kind of Dominator points we're talking about. We're talking 133 and 118 total points by leading that many laps. I mean, Brad Kay led 109 laps and had almost 78 points. Chase Elliott did not have any laps led and moved up 21 total spots to get himself 70 points. So, as you can see, it is a little bit of value because we had an AJ go from 13th to 7th. Not much of a place differential play, but value. Brad Keselowski, value. Chris Buescher, huge value. Yeah, that was big. 500 points. I mean, you don't see 500 points get put up as a total for 6. I'm not sure ever. I'd have to go back and look. That's really, really high. I mean, look at 2021, 363 points. I mean, we're talking 140 point difference. Big. I mean, Kyle Larson, 175 points, led 175 laps at 136 points. So, I mean, yeah, if you can go out, especially if you finish first, and lead 150 plus laps, yeah, I mean, even Christopher Bell, who led 143 laps, finishing 4th, was 3rd on the board. Brad Keselowski didn't even finish top 10. Actually lost positions because he led 109 laps at 78 points. So yeah, I mean, this one is all Dominator place differential, and finding the right value. Because as we see here, Bristol fall race, we had Tyler Reddick $6,600. That's funny. Chris Buescher again making the optimal lineup. Michael McDowell actually made it from 26th to 10th. But Kevin Harvick, 226 laps led, 136.45 points. Kyle Busch, 159 with 114. You just can't even touch them when they've got that many laps led. Plus the fast laps. And typically, if you're leading up front, clean air is king at Bristol. You're going to have fast laps too. So yeah, down here, I mean, Bubba Wallace, he started shotgun on the field, and so did Christopher Bell. Yeah, so I mean, Bubba Wallace got it because he did finish 10th, so he had a good solid day, finishing in 10th place. Ryan Preece finishing 12th, but they both started way back in the back. So once again, place differential, Dominator, finishing spot. Blue in on those. Take out the ones that are not going to do that or not going to have enough place differential. As much as I would love for Corey LaJoie to have a great day, his great day has to be really good for him to be top 15 in points. Either way, if you got any thoughts or questions, hit me up. Hopefully, cross your fingers that the rain stays out of Bristol long enough to get this in as a full race, because without the full race, it kind of throws the lineups into a quandary. But there is a big potential that this thing does not make it the full distance. Much as I would hope it does. It's a much more exciting race when it does. But either way, I appreciate you tuning in. Good luck tonight. Take home the big bag, and then you can spend it all on NFL tomorrow, because no racing for 8 days. So I will be back with everybody next Saturday night, as I think we head to Texas Motor Speedway. So either way, I appreciate you tuning in. Good luck. Have a great Saturday night, and enjoy your Sunday. NASCAR free, so you can watch football all day long. Have a great one. Hit me up in the chat. Hit that like and subscribe button. We'll see you next week. Thanks. Bye.
Get a good deep breath. Get ready to roll here. Only about one thing tonight, getting the W's, so got to be around at the end to do that. Get ready to roll tonight, boys. Let's go have some fun.
Don't get me any more fired up than I already am.
All the way to the checkered. You're fine. Nobody's got to run. Checker time, baby! Hell yeah! Proud of you there, Matt. Good job, pal. Thanks, man. Good job all day. Great work, my man. Great work. Keep putting yourself in position. We'll win our share, right? We got one back today, brother. Good job.
10-4, great job, guys.
Excellent work, my man. Excellent work. Thank you.
Man, that's awesome. Set out with a goal, we got it here, bud. Thank you very much.
Really proud of you, man. Drove your butt off tonight. We had the fastest car here, bud.
Probably killed our deal there. Just feel like I gave one away.
Yeah, boys. Way to rebound. Great job.
Great job, bud. Really good job. Appreciate you hanging in there with us all weekend.
What a weekend. Good job. Thank you.